To my knowledge, I was the only person that accurately predicted the stock market crash by one business day. Did that in 1987 on a WZAP live on the air. Got kicked out immediately. They said, "You're done with media. You don't have the proficiency to know when the stock market was going to crash." And then the next business day, it crashed. So I walked back in and assumed my job. Well, here we go again, folks. You need to watch what's been happening with the silver market. You need to watch what's been happening with the J.P. Morgan, who, on one hand, has an anti-silver bet called a put, and then on the other hand, is amassing silver and putting it in their London vault, not an American vault, in a London vault. At the same time, China, as of the 1st of January, ceased exports of silver. At the same time, back in the US, they now say that one of the banks, is too big to fail, is in crisis, and they need another bailout. Yet another bailout. Is If it's not J.P. Morgan, I'd be shocked because it appears to be a double-handed trick. Whereas they sell these silver puts against, in other words, you're against silver, so you're betting against silver, and then they buy up all of the silver puts from other uh, institutions and mixed it in with other things. They took a toxic situation, a toxic asset, which is a put, a bet, an insurance, and they tied it all together. And then J.P. Morgan bought all of them, while at the same time putting their literal silver in vaults in Europe, in London. Okay, now they claim that they're okay. So today, what happened was whenever whenever folks on the stock market do business, and then there's a call on your situation, you're supposed to provide that payment immediately. J.P. Morgan didn't do that, and so it triggers the market in several different ways. Uh, One, we know Venezuela had a silver supply, had a oil has an oil supply. We know that many of the new advances on batteries require a silver element. And so what China did was China curtailed all the natural or strategic minerals for their use because they see what's happening. So while Trump is pillaging the internally, he's pillaging the rainy day funds and stuff like that, so that when the SNAP benefits, they wanted to use that for the SNAP benefits. They said no, uh, it's been taken, it's been used for the ICE situation, or has it just been pillaged? These are the days of pillaging. It's a time when empire on its final leg uh, reveals its actual warlike and war-related skirt. It reveals himself. And I find it interesting. A lot of the analysts are saying, well, a lot of the analysts are saying, well, what's happening now is that Venezuela is frozen all of the assets of the companies in Venezuela, and it's caused a run. And they're saying that, oh, I don't even want to really get into what they're saying a lot, but because it's a smoke screen. It's a smoke screen because right now the U.S. is trying to pillage all that it can because the futures of precious and strategic minerals are is number one in their mind. So much so that they filed an executive order that can confiscate your silver for national security defense as a primary mineral. At the same time, X um, X had this transparency hiccup where it was showing where your agency's operation, internet operation is from. The NSA was showing that its base of operation it was going from is not real, not America. So if the website's coming out of if the web is being controlled by is not real, then we have a serious breach of national security that's being overlooked because there's been it looks like there's been a coup. Looks like it's been a coup, and the a lot of discoveries are coming out at the same time. Um, Trump tried to fight the release of his finances, and we find that many million were given to Epstein uh, uh, or ES. Uh, I mean JE. Uh, his initials is where the corporate what the corporation was named. So some of the money, millions have gone to him, and we see that it appears that his operation was money laundering to Russia. This is what they're saying for educational purposes. So you see this big circle fuck here. They're saying that J.P. Morgan Bank is too big to fail. You're allowing J.P. Morgan to fail because J.P. Morgan has 750 million ounces of silver in its London vault. Why should Americans give a dime to J.P. Morgan when they're sitting on 750 million ounces of silver in their vault? Come on now, come on now. How long are we going to be fools? Uh, I find it interesting. There's a banking monetary process called SWIFT, and see, when America did this economic warfare game to go to Saudi Arabia and other oil bearing states, nations, and then say to them, hey, if you require sales in the dollar, then we will provide military support for you, military defense. Now, see, that is a military action. That's a military agreement. That's a military and economic agreement right there. And that's what America did and have been enjoying the petrodollar, the US dollar being the standard, the trade, the use, the standard for over 50 years, but that's about done. That's done. That's done. That's why they had to go yank Venezuela stuff because uh, they're they're losing control over the mineral resources. They got AFRICOM to start all these terroristic acts in Africa. One of the persons in charge was saying before we got there, there was 7 terrorist acts in the whole continent. Now we've been here for 7 years, and there's what did he say? 40. America's is not real has got its hands up U.S.'s behinds to the degree that there's a puppet, and the U.S. is a puppet, and they're the puppeteers, because now they're even saying that. It's the same guy who, the same president who said he's not a warring president is now going and doing everything Israel wanted. It's like what, bombing eight different nations so far. And he's just getting started in his administration. Uh, we have, it's a state of tyranny. Some would say, would you say it's a state of tyranny? Would you say that? Yeah. Well, if you do, it's been that way for a long time because every president puts into a puzzle of dominance and dictatorship. Like they put a puzzle in the executive orders every time. Obama's got some stuff in there. All of them put some stuff in there so that it transitions into a dictatorial government, and which is literally what we have. So what's the solution for the pollution? What's the solution for the pollution? Gandhi would have said, "Don't feed the beast." But what do you say? What do you say?